Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and this is another Snap Judgment Review. What is a Snap Judgment Review if you have never listened before? Well, I think game reviewers nowadays get a little bit too caught up with 100%ing or near completing a game before they'll do the review, and they forget what it's like to play it right away. So that, coupled with the fact that I think games are one of the most subjective forms of art, I'm not going to give you a score on this review. Instead, I'm going to tell you an overview of what the game is. I'm going to list the pros and the cons of the game from my point of view. And then I'll be telling you whether I will be sticking with this game outside the purposes of this content. So, one other little disclaimer, if I may be so bold. These are older games, this one and the next review that I'm doing. Mainly because, I've gotten way more into indie games. And the Steam summer sale just went on, so I picked up a couple of new ones for very cheap. But again, these are much older games. The reason I'm doing them in the Snap Judgment Review is because I haven't seen a lot of talk about them since they came out, so hopefully I can get some more light on what I think are kind of some indie gems. So what I'm reviewing today is a game called Potion Permit. I believe this game came out in either 2020 or 2021. It's been out for a while. I know that it's not receiving necessarily any more updates, but like I said, it was very cheap in the Steam summer sale, so I decided to do a little review on it and pick it up myself because it was something that was very interesting. What is Potion Permit? Potion Permit is kind of a throwback retro style game. As far as the graphics go, you're kind of in this fantasy world. You play a doctor slash chemist who is on their way to a new town, this small town, to kind of revitalize medicine there. Some people from the capital that you work for went there and did some bad things, so they haven't had chemist, like a certified chemist slash doctor in their village in a long time. So you're back there to kind of like change their minds and heal people and bring about, trust and all that fun stuff. And all they have treating people are witch doctors, which I'm not exactly sure what they do compared to what you do, because let's face it, this is a fantasy world, so you're not exactly doing medicine. But this game, you and your dog end up in this town, much like this is kind of like Stardew Valley in that kind of area that the entire town has a set cast of characters. They all have likes, dislikes. You can befriend them. Some of them are romanceable, even I'm going to assume marryable if they're romanceable. I'm not sure. I haven't gotten that far. And they all have like different shops and stores. They also have set behaviors that they go through a day on. What you'll do is you get a house slash clinic, a house slash workshop, and then a clinic next door that you are going to reopen and slowly build up. And unlike the farming in Stardew Valley, this game is much more about going out into the wild, doing some very simplified combat of monsters, and some grinding for collectibles such as wood, iron, and then plants and whatnot. And then you come back to your cauldron. You mix different potions. These potions you sell for gold, or every so often somebody will show up in your clinic and they are sick, and you have to treat them, which is one of the more interesting parts of the game, in my opinion, and one of the things that I like the most. But we'll get to that in the pros and the cons. In any case, it's your job to treat these people, and this will take place in a few forms. You'll go to the clinic. They have a small amount of days over their head. That's the amount of days that you have to treat them and get them back to healthy for them to be satisfied and not get sicker. If they get sicker, they're sent away. Not killed, but sent away, which I think could actually be very interesting for the game mechanics, because if they're sent away, a lot of them are shopkeepers or, owners of businesses. I'm wondering if those businesses are still accessible in some way if they're sent away or not. That could be an interesting tie-in. Snap Judgment Review, haven't ever let anybody get sent away. So you have a number of days to diagnose them. They'll tell you what's hurt, brings up this little diagnose screen, and then each problem that they have, you have to diagnose through some sort of mini game. It might be a rhythm mini game, it might be a Simon Says mini game. There also might be other mini games that I haven't discovered yet, but if you do the mini game well enough, you diagnose what the problem is, and it tells you what kind of medicine you need to collect. Then there's another kind of almost inventory management mini game for the mixing of potions. When you go to the cauldron, there's like kind of a bunch of blocks you have to fill in, and every ingredient you have gives you this kind of Tetris-y style block. And you have to decide what blocks you're using and what ingredients you're using, and you have a limit on the number of ingredients you can use to make the potion, which is very kind of interesting. So you have to kind of puzzle them together, which I thought was really cool. And then you mix it, you treat them. If you treat them within the time, well, they're happy, they pay you. They also give you these moon clovers. Unlike Stardew and some of the other games like this, the friendship/romance mechanic is relatively simple. You talk to them every day, a little bar goes up. When that bar gets full, you'll get this event. That event allows you to do something, and it tells more of that character's story while ingratiating them to you a little bit more. I chose to befriend first a pirate girl, and once I got that bar filled up, she challenged me to fish a bunch. I caught the fish, finished that up, so now I have a whole nother bar to fill up to get her up to, I'm gonna guess, romanceable at some point. The moon clovers that you receive from positive treatment and other small things, those are the only gifts that you can give to people. It's not like you just give them specialized gifts, or at least not at this point in the game, and they will give you a huge part of that bar fill up. They'll make the bar fill up much faster if you give them the moon clover tea. Other than that, that's basically the loop of the game. You go out into the wild, you kill some monsters, you grab some raw materials, you bring it back, you make potions, you cure people in the clinic who are sick, you go out fishing, you romance people, you talk to people. It's very much like a live in this world sort of game, which is a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun, very cozy sort of game. So let's go ahead and get into the pros and cons of Potion Permit. I like to go positive, as I always do. I really enjoy the Puzzly Alchemist mini game for actually like making the potions. When you're at that cauldron and you have the bars and you're trying to fit things together, one of the cool things about it too is you have 4 different categories of ingredients, and those 4 different categories of ingredients all have ingredients that give you sometimes the same pieces, sometimes different pieces, and I found it really exciting to kind of like figure out. So there's no one way to make a potion. Like, maybe I need a 3 block crosswise and a 2 block straightwise. I might be able to get that out of the fire ingredients, or I could get that out of the wind ingredients, or a combination of the both. And then I can decide, once I've crafted enough of them, I can actually save recipes and decide which recipes I want to use to actually craft the stuff. So if I have more of this ingredient, maybe I want to craft it with that or this. I think it's very versatile and very fun, and I thought it was the most engaging part of this game for me was that. No upkeep. Okay, so this is a weird one. This is my next pro. I wrote down no upkeep. I know that's kind of strange. So when you're playing a game that's kind of survivally crafty, where you have to go out and you have to collect things like plant fiber or trees or whatever to build things, whatever that game is, there's usually upkeep on the tools. Usually they build in this mechanic where like your tools wear down and those tools eventually don't work, and then you have to put materials into those tools. And really, I hate this mechanic. And the reason I hate this mechanic in games is because this mechanic is just there to slow the player's progress down. When you're talking like an arc or like that, or like Windrose that everybody is playing, all your weapons, your items, everything slowly breaks over time. Drives me nuts. There's no real reason for this. I mean, yes, you could argue there's some realism to it. I'm not saying there isn't, but if we're playing video games, really looking for that level of realism, the real reason these are in the games is because they only have so much content and they want to slow your progress to get to that content. So they make it so that you have to collect a ridiculous amount of raw materials to fix your shit before you can even make the new stuff. With this game, there's none of that. And it goes even one further. Your tools can really cut down and break just about anything. It's just the amount of time it takes you and the amount of stamina it takes you is different. So you have a certain amount of stamina. You can refresh that stamina by eating food or by taking baths in the bathhouse, although that does take 2 hours of your day. Once that stamina is gone, you can't swing a weapon, period. You can still run around, but you can't swing a weapon, period. So you can only collect so many things in the field. But what's interesting is if I want to cut down a bigger tree than the normal tree, I don't have to go get the iron axe instead of the copper axe. I can cut it down with a copper axe. It just takes longer and uses more stamina. And I really enjoy this. It really makes you think about your time. And it also makes it that I don't have to necessarily prioritize upgrading or upkeeping my weapons and equipment. I can just play the game, which is really, really nice. I mean, there's still plenty of grinding in there anywhere by collecting the ingredients to make the potions. And also you have to collect wood and stone to help build your house up and buy furniture and whatnot. So there is still reasons for that. And if you want to upgrade your weapons and equipment so that you cut those things down faster and you use less stamina, you can go to the blacksmith with enough ore and gold and upgrade them. So there are options here without necessarily forcing it. And I like that. I really like the fact that there's options without forcing you to slow down because of X thing. I hate when I'm playing a game and I want to do a certain thing, but I can't because of some mechanic that just forces me to slow down. I hate that. Okay. And then finally, part-time jobs. So not a ton of way to make money in the beginning. It takes a while to unlock a lot of the things that allow you to sell the potions. And the clinic, you have to wait for somebody to get sick. But they have these part-time jobs around the village. I don't know how to unlock them all. I've only unlocked the post office one, but I know there's one for the church and there's also one for the cops in the town, which sounds really fun and interesting. But you go do these, there's a little mini game and you get a little gold and it spends like 2 hours of your day. The one thing that I really liked about this game is I really felt like I was just kind of living in this world without necessarily the pressure of a lot of things. I think one of the biggest things I hated about Stardew Valley and why I don't play it is the fact that eventually your character would pass out. And just pass out where they lie in a day. I'm going to tell you right now, I've stayed up for a day and a half and I've never passed out. Like, it's a mechanic that I absolutely can't stand. I think that, like, with this game, you'll run out of stamina and you'll run out of time, but you can keep playing if you want. And you're going to eventually want to sleep so that you get that stamina back, but you don't have that pressure of like, oh God, if I don't do this thing or I don't do this thing here, my dude's just going to pass out in a field and be eaten by bats. I hate that. The one thing about this game that I like is that the pressure is a lot more limiting than some of the other cozy games out there, and I like that. Okay, so let's get to the cons. Let's get to the negatives on this one. First of all, long-winded open. Okay, so one of the big problems with this game, I think the writing is pretty good on this game. I'm actually kind of interested in the story. I like the story of the town and where it's going. The problem is, though, is that the stuff you can do in the beginning is very slow. And just like for the first, I want to say week and a half, just every day, there is a story element and it is a lot of talking. Whereas it's talking to explain things that you know you're going to have to do. I think that there is a way to cut this down so that it doesn't feel as restrictive. There's so many moments where it's like, hey, come here and do this thing. Now you have this. Hey, come here and do this. Now you have this. Hey, come here and do this. But there's a huge exposition and backstory about all of these things that takes up all of your day. Whereas a lot of me was like, once I got through the first 2 days, I was like, I know what this game is. Just let me do that. So there's a lot of like long-winded, slow play to this that I think the game really opens up after you get out of that. I would say I was barely out of that by the time I finished my 5 hours. So it's a lot. It's long-winded opening. There's a lot of story. You got to kind of get through that. And that's especially if you're not interested in the story, it's not going to do itself any favors. My next thing is the go out back in. Okay, so this is a weird thing I wrote down, go out back in. There will be missions that you are like, you have to go to the tavern between, all of these types of games that are on time, that are based on time and living in a place, have these kind of missions where it's like, hey, you gotta, the next part of this mission happens in the tavern. You have to be there between 9 p.m. and midnight, right? So that's what your mission will say, right? But if you go to the tavern at, let's say, 6 o'clock and you just hang out there till 9, the event won't happen unless you walk out of the tavern and back in. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. It detaches, it brings you so quickly out of the reality of living in this city. I would actually have to say it's probably one of my biggest complaints. It's just the fact that, like, I'm here, nothing's happening, and then if I go out of the building and then I walk right back into the building, it resets the stage for this event. I would like it if the event just happened, like faded to, even if it had to fade to black to reset everybody, then come back. If I'm sitting in the tavern and 9 o'clock hits, it should happen, period. So yeah, I don't love that part. Let's get to whether or not I'm gonna stick with it. I think I am. The biggest problem with this is there was another game that I purchased with this one in the Steam sale, and I am way more into that than this one, so to speak. So with this, it's tricky because sometimes, like, I'll be really into a game and I want to finish it, but it just gets lost in the shuffle of the other games that end up demanding my attention. Overall, I want to stick with this. I enjoy it. It is very relaxing, and I've got to say, just from a personal standpoint, the time in which I purchased this game is very chaotic in my personal life right now. It was incredibly enjoyable to just sit and then exist in this very peaceful world where I'm just, making potions and helping people. And that, if you're looking for something like that, this game will hit it. It will hit it 100% on the head with you. It has good character customization, so you can mess with your little icon, so you can feel like it's you. I think overall, I think this is a really cool, interesting game, and I want to stick with it. I want to come back to it. So that right there to me is a win. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? You can let me know in the comments below. You can influence this and all of our shows from Discord, which that is also in the comments below. And then other than that, as long as you guys keep watching and listening, I'll keep making them. I'll see you guys next time.